Hey everyone, Amia here from Resonance Astrology and joined by Duna Holler, and we are greeting you with our fancy, extravagant Leo looks for the Decans in Leo episode. So welcome. May the sun shine bright. And yeah, it's Leo season. We just had the Leo new moon yesterday, so we're riding off of that wave, which was a pretty intense one to say the least. All happened in the first decade, so we're gonna totally talk about that. And yes, what I do want to mention is that the Leo workshop that we're going to do this time around, we decided to go super Leo fashion and be generous and offer it for free this time around. So if you join the Leo Decan Dance workshop, it's for free. You don't pay anything. This time around, you can just join, you can come, you can, soak up the information. Leave refreshed and replenished and learn more about the Leo decans, your own Leo placements if you have them in your chart. So this is what I wanted to say. And obviously I have to also say that the date of the workshop. It's happening on August 10th,
Yes.
Sunday, August 10th at 7:30 p.m. Central European time. So if you would come, if you would show up, hopefully you do. We encourage it highly because it's going to be interactive. And while we do record the workshop, we do leave out the part where we talk about personal charts. So if you want to bring your personal charts, especially if you have Leo placements, that part is not going to be recorded. So we encourage you to actually come live. Otherwise, you just get the recording where we talk about the example charts and the transits. So I guess this is it for the information part. And maybe let's just briefly, if you're new here to the series, talk about what the decans are. So basically, we have one zodiac sign, and one zodiac sign is 30 degrees. And so when we split that 30 degrees in three parts, so the first 10 degrees, the middle 10 degrees, and the last 10 degrees, we kind of get the segments. And these segments are then have rulerships, and these are the decans. So depending on if you have placements, like 5 degrees of Leo or 28 degrees of Leo, it's gonna play out differently. Like the sun at 5 degrees or at 28 degrees of Leo, not the same type of sun. So it gives us a lot more insight into how natal planets work or any sort of natal placements, or even just in the sky, right? We're doing this with the sun right now. We're kind of dancing through the decans with the sun's ingress. So it's something you can also totally observe with the planets that are in transit. And yeah, I guess this is what I have to say. Did I forget
Yes.
anything?
I think not. I will say that to the people who want to come to the workshop, since this one is free. Also, that we talk about charts of famous people and historical people in the workshop, which we do not do on this video. So if
Yes.
you wanna do like get that extra information, this time is totally for free. You can get a peek of what is a workshop with us on the 3 decans of a sign, and see if you wanna join more workshops in the future.
Yes, yes. And also transits, like I know I just
Mm,
mentioned the Leo new
yes.
moon. I think we're going to talk a bit about it right now, but
Yes.
we are going to take a deeper dive into Mercury's whole retrograde period in the workshop because Mercury retrograde in Leo is still going to be active when we have the workshop. It's going to finish like 1 or 2 days after it. So it's still very fresh. And that's like a transit we're kind of going to dissect and see like, okay, what is Mercury in the first decan of Leo? How does it express in the second and in the third decan of Leo? So for things like that, definitely come to our super lovely, generous free offering of this Leo workshop.
Okay. With that said, we can go with the decans.
Yes.
So let's start with the first 10 degrees of Leo, called by Austin Kopok the mask and the spotlight. And the images of this decan are pretty simple. It's usually a man riding on a lion or a person riding on a lion in general. And the rulers are in Chaldean order Saturn and in Ptolemaic order the Sun. There's a lot in this deck about like labor, sustained labor especially, effort and kind of climbing up a social hierarchy. It is interesting, and I was looking at this or thinking about this when looking at this like as this decan, that the sun is in domicile in Leo, so the sun is has some like good qualities in Leo, and Saturn has triplicity as well. So this decan is ruled by the Saturn and the Sun, but like not like other Saturn decans that we have seen in other signs. This one offers a lot of recompense of rewards to the people who kind of ride that wave of that Leo decan. And we can go with the car, which is the Five of Wands, and so I think the deck that Amelia is gonna show us whenever you want, it's particularly good for looking at this deck, and because I feel like the significations and the rulers of the decan are way less conflicting sometimes than the card. Even though there's this conflict there, I feel like that conflict comes with like a reward. So yeah, you can go with the card.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, let me just show it quickly again. I have the trippin weight tarot deck. Again, based on the normal weight tarot deck, but it's just it has a bit more like of a psychedelic feel. And you're gonna see immediately why, because this card looks so much so much friendlier in this decan than it usually does. It doesn't have the doves in the other decan, and I think that's what you meant with what you said before, that there is like this card feels a lot more like there is some sort of a resolution that is kind of happening or aiming to happen. At the same time, you see people fighting.
Yes.
And I think that's interesting because of out of all the cards we looked so far, I think this one has like the most people on it. Like not a lot of cards have a lot of people. This one has what, like 5 people? Like that's a lot. So it's very much again something that involves a larger group. And when you think of larger groups, uh, maybe not immediately, but there's definitely something where eventually you're like, oh, should there be a hierarchy? Is there some sort of like, there is conflict bound to happen. That's just what happened. People have different opinions. It's like, one-on-one relationships, it's easier maybe to accommodate, but if it's a group, 5 people, things can kind of get a bit heated. And I think this is exactly what you see in this card. And I think again, with the rulership, the dichotomy of like Saturn and the Sun being here, that is the dichotomy literally that we have with Sun in rulership in Leo, which is kind of like, oh, I'm gonna shine myself and at the same time let other people also shine and have the spotlight. And Saturn kind of being the opposite of that, where it has a harder time, first of all, usually dimming your own light, but then also being afraid that other people might, kind of take your place or take your throne. So I do feel like this is very much the dichotomy of this Decan. I think it has a lot of this energy of like being seen, at the same time, fear of being seen. And what does that mean, in our societal structure?
Yes. Um, Totally. I think because we also end up like every decade reading the poem with of our 36 Secrets, the book, one of the books that inspires this Decan Dance. And before I go with the poem, I think definitely this Decan, it's kind of like showing a lot of like possibility and rewards, but also kind of like a shadow side of it, which I feel like in the story of the Decans of Leo is gonna be seen in the next one as well, where there's like a lot of like reward, but also like what is the cost of reward, and
Mhm.
it's kind of like highlighting that social nature, that social aspect that Saturn does a lot sometimes of like there's people who have more, people who have less, and what does that mean? And within Leo is kind of like fighting for that spotlight or for that place in a hierarchy. So if you don't have anything else to add, I'll read the poem. Okay, it's called Blood Pressure by Sandra M. Gilbert. The white sleeve woman wraps a rubber sleeve around your arm, steps back, listens, whistles. How it pounds in you, how it arcs through you, how it asserts its power like a tide of electrons, flashing through your veins, soaking your fingertips, exhausting the iron gates of your heart. Alive, alive, always alive, it hisses, crackling like the lightning snake that splits the sky at evening. Alive, a black rain lashing the hollows of your body. Alive, alive. You sit quietly on the cold table. The good boy grows up into the good man. You say you want nothing. You'll diet. You won't complain. Anyway, you say. You dream of January weather, hushed and white, the cries of light, silenced by a shield of ice. Behind your eyes, something like a serpent moves, an attic tongue flicking at your cheekbones, something voracious, whipping your whole body hard. You're sad. You flustered and you're pink. You tell her you can't understand the first rain inside you. You've always hated that awful croaking in your veins. Okay.
Nice. I think longest poem so far, maybe.
Yes, this is a particularly long one. The other one's a shorter. Okay, we can go to the second decan. As we see, the theme continues and kind of grows in this one. It's Leo 2. It's called A Crown of Laurels by Austin Kopok. And the image is usually a man in whose head is a crown. Um, it's also like the appearance of this man is like an angry man and one that is feels threatened. And having in his right hand a sword, and in his left hand sometimes a bird, sometimes a buckle, sometimes something for defending himself. The rulers are the same in the Chaldean Ptolemean order, Jupiter, so it explains the growth part of this decan. And again, I feel like it shows the theme of victory, of like, again, crown of laurels. Like, it's like you're kind of seeing like the emperor victorious in kind of like all the images of the decan, but that also means that that victory is most times at the detriment of others. And there's like a danger on this decan of egotism and also of like sleeping on your laurels or like kind of taking for granted your victories, which is very Jupiterian. And the card, you can saw it now, it's very, very on point for this. It's the
Basically
Six of
almost the
Wands.
same as the imagery that you described before.
Yes.
Again, as you see, this person here is also, I mean, you could say literally on a high horse if you
Yes.
want. And again, that is, as you said, this can kind of be the danger here. And yeah, I'm not sure if you see it too well, but there are like two people in the back. I would assume there are even more, and I think this explains what you were saying before of like, okay, but what's with these people? Like, like sure there's somebody on this high horse, but like what does that victory kind of entail? And what does it mean being on top? Yeah, wealth, power, distribution, things like that. And also what you said again, especially maybe if you're somebody that is perhaps born into that kind of life, or even created it yourself. Again, sometimes you can forget where you came from, or maybe you've never experienced it, and then you don't even know what it would feel like otherwise. And I think that's kind of what this card exemplifies. And I do think Jupiter and the Sun have a really interesting relationship with the fact that I mean, Jupiter is like the biggest of the seven inner planets. And then the sun obviously rules over Leo. And it has I mean, it's even bigger. It's even bigger. And so combining these two together just seems like, I feel like it's a giant disco ball in the cosmos or something. That's how I'm picturing it right now. Yeah, can be very overwhelming.
Yes. Yeah, I think I don't have anything to add to that. I Only maybe that I think it's curious that this topic of like abundance and scarcity and difference comes up a lot in Jupiter ruled decans. It came up in the
Hmm.
Cancer one last time, and I feel like it makes a lot of sense as Jupiter being associated with royalty, which the Sun also kind of is. So,
Yes. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and there's also what people often forget, Jupiter has a lot to do with our like societal order,
yes.
which is linked to like the institutions and like which are often based on religious beliefs, these Jupiterian themes that form a sort of order, which again, yeah, the royals had a lot to do with like the church and stuff like that. So very much in this Decan as well, visibly.
Yes. Okay, so the poem this time is Some Flowers Over the Corn by Kenneth W. Porter. Here where the fierce devouring sun's arrows of burning gold beat down on fences by palisades of rain, through all the summer skeletons of corn, dust grey and brittle brown, lie on the ruinous battle plain, which harvests like those of Timur hold, equipped with massive flame-wraith seals, beating from freshly plundered gold, vast armies of the sun's own flowers, flooding the wide horizonted fields about the empty silo towers. Okay, so we go to the last decan. Very interesting one, especially because in the story of Leo, it seems like in this decan, the topic kind of explodes, or so is like the conflict. Leo 3 is called The Banner by Austin Kopok. If you get a copy of Austin Kopok's book, which is pretty difficult, but the imaginary is also like kind of like a flag with like a big lion. So it's like very representative of kind of like a war. Leo doesn't end on a very like calm note, it ends on a very like combative note. And the images are usually a young man or a person in whose hand is a whip, or someone really, really sad and who looks ill. And yeah, but the rulers of this decan are again the same for Chaldean, Ptolemaic, and Orber, Mars and Mars for both. One of the most Martian parts of the zodiac, not the most at all, we'll get there, but one of the most. And I think this shows like kind of the consequences of a Leo shadow in a lot of ways, because Mars is kind of comes to like break the kind of good picture or the kind of like, yeah, I won side of Leo and like to show like the opposing forces and the danger of loss or of like things like being attacked when you're like at the peak or when you're like carrying some sort of banner like the name of the decan is, and it kind of like plays a lot on the role of like tyranny and like differences between people, very Martian things. And the card, Seven of Wands.
Yeah, once again, a bit of a disclaimer. This looks a bit
A
different here,
bit nicer, yes.
a bit nicer in the normal weight deck. There aren't any bees in this deck. They kind of made this person a beekeeper, which is kind of cute. Uh, but
With they're like a
y
fairy
yeah,
figure.
exactly. They're like a fairy.
Yes.
But I think that what they're trying to show here, which is also visible in this other card, is like there's definitely something about like defense going on. This
Yes.
person is trying to defend something and is most likely being attacked. You know, we don't know what is happening here. I could easily imagine this is like people are holding up this stick or something here, and this person's like, "Ooh, I need to go and defend myself." Maybe in this story they want to take his honey. No, I don't know. But yes, it makes so much sense with Mars and Mars being active here. Um, even though in essence, I do actually really like Mars together in Leo. They would obviously have an affinity since one of the signs, which is ruled by Mars, Aries, has its exaltation in the sun. So there is, there is some sort of affinity with the Mars and the sun kind of like working well together in and of itself. I think a lot of Mars and Leo has to do with courage, which in a way you could say also has to do with this card because you have to be courageous to defend what is important to you. And at the same time, again, I'm also thinking of what you said before. I could easily also imagine that there's like, like this kind of rich person behind these crazy walls is like, don't come near me. And what that means, like what does that mean? Like does fame, like having a lot of publicity, what is the consequence of that? Sometimes it actually makes life more stressful if there's lots of people that want something for you. Like easily you could picture this as like being paparazzis in the background. And yeah, for a lot of people, this is actually, not the ideal life, in essence. So I think it's an interesting card. It's interesting again, as you said, that the Leo decans kind of end here. Like there isn't really a resolution, there's more like a fight.
Yes, I want to give a shout out now to Kira Rivers' new podcast. Because I,
Yes,
yes,
true.
also because this reminded me that for a long time, the fixed star Regulus used to be in this decan. I'm not sure. I know that like for most of like the people who like are
Shout out to
living,
Regulus.
yes, the people who are like living today are like or like that were born before like 2012 or something like that. So except like some babies, most people have
Mm.
Regulus in the third decan of Leo. The people who are like showcasing this archetype today in their charts. Um, and one of there's a lot of examples. Anyway, Kira River has a great podcast about Regulus, part of like her new podcast. I'm trying to remember the name.
Oh,
Fate.
Threads of Fate.
Yes, that one, Threads of Fate. And they're also doing like a they can walk, but they're going like slower and kind of like going very like they're on Aries right now. But I feel like it's kind of like a parallel to our one, so I feel like very very cool to like say go listen to that because those are very very good podcasts. And the Regulus one can
Yeah,
be very interesting for looking at this decan because it's how like that fixed star is part of the story of this decan in a lot of like the charts that we're gonna see in the workshop.
definitely. Yeah. I think yeah, let's just do this here right now. But I think like Kira definitely somebody that inspired both of us when it comes to decans. They have a great well, it's not a workbook, but like a zine, or I don't know how to call it, just like a PDF, downloadable PDF that I will also link down below. It's so great. I definitely always use it as a reference point. I'm pretty sure you do as well.
Yes,
Uh,
100%.
and also, yeah, let's also shout out again Austin Coppock. I mean, we're all still patiently waiting for that new edition of the 36 Faces.
Faces.
I like sometimes I look like I think I randomly looked at like an older astrology podcast video and Austin was like, "Yeah, I'm like the book's gonna come out soon," and it's like 4 years ago. So anyhow, but definitely
Still in
also
the trenches.
yeah, still in the trenches. But I definitely want to shout out Austin because he definitely also is so much great work around decans. Um, on the astrology podcast, they also have a good um video. I'm not sure if I remember the people correctly. I know one of them was called Mo, and they did another like podcast also on the decans, which was also really cool. So I definitely also want to shout out that episode. I'm also gonna link it below. And then of course another source we use here is Susan T. Chang. um, Also super inspirational. And she does She does more tarot, so it's interesting. Like, these people are more like coming from the astro side. She's coming more from the tarot side. Um,
And she
so
just
yeah.
released a podcast that started like a couple of months ago, I
Hmm.
think. The Tarot podcast. It is called like
Oh,
that.
cool. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So lots of resources we are leaving you here with, guys. Plus our resource as well, which is again the free workshop and this video. So yeah, we would absolutely love you to have you join there. And especially if you have Leo placements, like you're welcome. You're the star this time.
Yes, we hope to see a lot of curious people around. And again, that's also just like to show you like what a workshop is like. So you
Yes.
can decide if you want to come to another one. So even if you don't have Leo placements, but you're like, oh, but I have like a lot of like Libra placements or like Sagittarius placements. And
Yes.
you're like, you might come to this one for free and then decide that you want to like go to the one that is like about your placements more deeply. And that kind of also why we decided to do this one for free as well. To
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. To give people kind of a glimpse.
yes,
And yeah, again, invoke the generous Leo qualities.
yes, I feel like it's important also because through these decans we talk a lot about like the inequalities and all that potential in Leo. I feel like there's also like the opposite potential because these decans are so much about those things. That's it can also mean the awareness of those things or the possibility of like challenging those things. It feels very
100%.
Martian.
Yes. Yes. Did you read the last
I'm gonna
poem?
read the last poem now.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was like not sure
No,
anymore
it
if you
didn't
did that
happen.
already.
Okay, it's called Noon of the Sunbather by Marge Piercy. The sun struts over the asphalt world, arcing his gaudy plumes till the streets smoke, and the city sweats oil under his metal feet. A woman, not on a rooftop, lifts her arm. Men have swarmed like ants over my thighs, held their Sunday picnics of ripe and crumb, the twitch and nip of all their grizzled traffic. When will my brain pitch like a burning tower? Lion, come down, explode the city of my bones. The ghost stands on the still blue arc and listens. Then he strides the hill of igniting air, straight to the roof of the Hassans, winds of breath. In his first breath, she blackens and curls like paper. The limp winds of noon disperse her ashes, but the ashes dance. Its ash fleck leaps at the sun.
Great. Woo.
Okay, so with that, reminded you August 10th, 7 p.m. Central Standard European Time, which is 1 p.m. in Eastern Standard
It's
Time.
7:30.
7:30, yes, 7:30, which is 1:30 in Eastern European Time.
Yes.
No, in Eastern Standard Time, which is the one from the US. Anyway,
Mercury's still retrograde. Sorry, guys.
yes, I'm gonna stop.
But yes, August 10th, 7:30 Central European time. Exactly. See you guys there. And for now, lovely Leo season. Bye.